It's Brian Preston, the money guy.
The first decade, talking about really setting the goals high. What if you wanted to retire in your 20s? First of all, Bo, does anybody actually retire in their 20s?
You know, I don't want to say no, but this is what we do know. In our ecosystem, remember, by day, we are fee-only financial planners. So we work with all kinds of successful folks from all different walks of life. And in our ecosystem here to Bound Wealth, we don't have any 20-something retirees. We just don't see it. There aren't people who exit the workforce in their 20s.
Well, mathematically, I think it's going to be really hard. The only people I think of when I'm thinking of 20-somethings that could retire, it's windfall or they invented something.
Yep.
We think about the Mark Zuckerbergs
Sure.
of the world, the Kardashians, the Jenners. But think about every one of those examples I said that came into windfall, they don't actually
still working.
retire.
Yeah,
they're
they're
still
still
out there
generating
building,
income.
accumulating. I think you just don't, for most 20-somethings, you do not have the time to accumulate the assets to make it work. So this is really, you have to be a prodigy.
Absolutely.
And then most people, I don't even know if that happens. I mean, maybe you inherited the assets.
Sure.
But I feel like that rips the carpet out from people really quick. So let me set the stage a little bit for 20-somethings that are watching this. First of all, you are in your 20s thinking about retirement. I don't care when you retire, even if it's early or if it's traditional. Bravo, congratulations that the hardest part of your journey is having enough time for compounding growth to take effect, take hold, and grow for you so you don't have to work so hard with your back, your brains, your hands at your job. It's going to be so much easier for you because you are getting a huge head start. And I think that that's one of the things that I first wanted to give a compliment on and then even tell you some good news from my early savers.
Yeah, so I think what's interesting is if we just take sort of a traditional retirement, not necessarily the FIRE retirement in the 20s, but if you were a 20-year-old and you're thinking about retiring at 65, and let's assume that every year your salary goes up about 1.5%, right? It increases by about 1.5%. And let's assume that when you retire at age 65, you want to replace about 80% of your pre-retirement income.
Yeah.
So likely if you're an aggressive saver and you're paying taxes and you're giving, there's a chance when you retire you're actually getting a pay raise if you do it that way. And let's assume a very conservative rate of return. Let's just say that you can earn 6% over the long term over the course of your retirement, which I think is very, very conservative.
It's very conservative.
If you want to be able to replace 80% of your income at 65 and you start at age 20, you've only got to save about 12% of your income. You don't have to do the money guy 25%. You've just got to do 12% to replace 80% of your income.
This really does show the value of time because also, but listen, if you did what we told you to do, to save the 25% of your gross income, look at that. Just saving 25% of your gross income, you're going to have 167% of what your income is as a retirement, which you're not going to need that much because you're going to be debt free. You're going to have all that paid off. This is kind of crazy, the opportunity this creates that you'll have 167% of your working wages. And look, I did the math on this because I know everybody's probably thinking, well, what does this mean? If you use numbers like $50,000, let's just say a 20-year-old made $50,000. We figured it out by age 65 with this 1.5% increase. You actually finish your career making close to $100,000 a year. So if you do the math on that, you can see very quickly the numbers are clean. You'll retire making $100,000 a year or right under $100,000, but your retirement or pension that you're paying yourself will be close to under $200,000, $167,000 a year. Really an awesome setup for yourself just because you started young.
And so this is why the folks in the 20s ought to be really excited because watch what happens. If all you do is wait until 25, well, now you have to save 15%. So the onus on you to save is a little bit greater. And if you're able to save 25% of your gross income, you can still get a pay raise at retirement. You can still retire making 131% of your pre-retirement income, or what most people will do is you have the ability or the potential to retire earlier. If you wait until 30 to start saving, well, then you do have to save 20%. If you want to replace 80% of your income, you have to be saving 20% of what you make. But if you save 25%, then you can replace 100% of your income. Wait till 35, you have to save 26% of your income. And then if you wait till 40 to start, and all you want to do is replace 80% of your pre-retirement income, you've got to save 34% starting at 40. So the earlier you figure this out, the earlier you're able to get your army of dollar bills working, the less difficult is it going to be for you to reach financial independence and actually retire.
So I feel like that I've just opened the curtain, and transparently we've just told you one of the big one of the foundational knowledge points here at the Money Guy Show is that we tell you that saving 20 to 25% of your gross income. And a lot of you guys are like, where does that come from? This is where it comes from. Look at this, guys. We're assuming that you have to start somewhere before age 35, because you can see age 35 is that cutoff where as long as you're saving 20 to 25% before that. And I'm hoping most people who discover this channel are in that financial mutant status where you're getting this in your 20s or 30s. We just showed you the math that did it. Now, I want to challenge you, and I have an experience share on this, is that I came out of college kind of on fire. I didn't mean to, but literally, I was fire before there was fire, because I had my wake-up moment when I read The Millionaire Next Door, The Wealthy Barber, back around 95, 96. I had just come out into the workforce. I had just started having money, working, getting wages and salary from my college degree. And I was just like, I want to do this well, because at that point, I told myself, if I do this, really work hard, save well, put my money to work to invest, I bet I can retire at 50, because I want to retire at 50. And I think that is very good aspirationally, to be energized, to save for the future, because you recognize time is even more valuable than money.
Yep.
But I'm going to go ahead and let you guys in on a secret. I'm getting close to 50. I'm not going anywhere. Now, I will be financially independent. Already kind of met that gray zone right now, but I'm having too much fun. You guys energize me, and I think a lot of you who are in your 20s getting excited about this might be something that happens to you too. If you find out that you are going to work and doing something that you were put on this earth to do, you might not be as energized to leave, but you will have the option to live life on your terms, being financially independent, not working because you have obligations and mortgages and debt. You're working because you're fulfilled, and that is a much healthier place to be.
So what I'm hearing you say is that even though you weren't part of the FIRE movement, even though you espouse some of those ideas, here, as you approach age 50, you're in the driver's seat. You are in control. You are, I think you said it, financially independent to do what you want, when you want, the way you want.
Well, being ahead of the game, meaning you have excess margin financially, allows you to do things on your terms. Being behind in the game means that you are under the thumb of some obligation, some concern, some boss. And I think that's why I want you to be ahead of the game, not playing catch up, because that's always there's a lot more obstacles you're going to have to face in life.
Now, remember, one of the things that we said at the beginning of the show is that so many folks want to talk about the why of financial independence, retire early. We want to talk to you about the how. What is actually required to retire early? And we want to give you guys some hard and fast numbers that you can use. So before we can share the numbers with you, we have to walk you through the assumptions behind our analysis. Now, remember, there is a safe withdrawal rate construct that we sort of built out. If you think you want to retire at 55, we think a safe withdrawal rate is 3.5%. At 45, safe withdrawal rate is 3%. If you want to retire at 35, a safe withdrawal rate is 2.5%. And so remember, we're taking an individual that starts at age 20 working, and has a 1.5% wage growth rate every year up until they want to retire, whether that be at 35, 45, 55, 65. And we said our goal is, whatever that income is at their retirement, when they retire, they want to replace 60% of that. They want to replace 60% of their immediate prior to retirement income. That's sort of the construct that we're laying out. So this is what's required. If you are age 20 and you are listening to this show and you have a desire to retire at 35, you just want to be in the workforce for 15 years, then you would need to save 87% of your income to be able to replace 60% of your pre-retirement income at age 35.
So you just gave away the answer. Why did we? Because remember, this whole section was, how do you retire in your 20s? Well, when we say that with our tongue firmly in our cheek, that when we say you're retiring in your 20s, you're preparing for retirement at some point, whether it's 30s, 40s, 50s, or 60s. I don't think anybody actually retires in
right.
their 20s. I just want to go ahead and throw the cold water on it because you can see mathematically, it looks impossible to make that happen.
So if you're a 20-year-old and say, okay, well, 35, maybe that's out. What if I want to retire at 40? How much do I need to save to be able to do that? Well, you still need to have a 46% savings rate to replace 60% of your pre-retirement income. So you've got to be, remember, one of the things for FIRE folks is they have to have this obscene savings rate. And I would argue saving almost half of what you make falls into that category. For a 45-year-old, or for a 20-year-old that wants to retire at 45, you have to be saving 26%. And then for a 20-year-old that wants to retire at 50, you have to be saving 15%. And then for a 20-year-old that wants to retire at age 55, you need to be saving 9% to replace 60% of your pre-retirement income. So that's for a 20-year-old. Well, most 20-year-olds, they're trying to find a job, not thinking about how to get out of their job.
Or they have student loan debt.
Or they have student loan. But by the time you're age 25 and you are well seasoned, because we know at 25 we all have the entire world figured out, now we're really thinking about retirement. So if you're a 25-year-old and you're just now thinking about saving and financial independence, retire early, and you've not been saving, to retire in 10 years, you got to save 181% of your income.
Wow, it shows how fragile time is in this whole discussion.
While it was theoretically possible for the 20-year-old, I would argue unless you have a windfall, an inheritance, or so you sell something, it is not going to be possible to retire at 35. So then at age 40, for a 25-year-old that wants to retire at age 40, you've got to save almost 90% of your income. If you're a 25-year-old that wants to save at 45, again, we're at that sort of obscene savings rate. You have to save 49% to be able to replace 60% of your pre-retirement income. If you're 50, you have to have a 28% savings rate. And then if you're age 25 wanting to retire at 55, you need to be saving 17% to be able to exit the workforce early.
So everything you showed there was very powerful, but it was making one big assumption. It was assuming you come from nothing.
That's right.
You were starting from either age 20 at zero or age 25 and zero. There are people that maybe your parents, because look, we talk about the power of dollars all the time. We tell you, look, if you have a brand new newborn, maybe you want to start investing for them because just the power of compounding, you can start early. So somebody out there, maybe you're a person who started watching this in your teenage years. Now you're in your mid-20s. You're sitting on a pot of money. We did the math for you that way too, so you could still have a spot check.
So if you are someone who is age 25 and you're planning to retire at specific ages, how much should you have in your nest egg right now today? Where should you be sitting? Well, if you're a 25-year-old and you think that you want to retire at 35, by now, you should have accumulated about 5.5 times your current gross income. 5.5 times your current gross income to be able to retire in 10 years. If you're a 25-year-old that wants to retire at 40, you should have already accumulated 3 times your gross income. A 25-year-old that wants to retire at 45, you should already have saved about 1.7 times your gross income. If you want to retire at 50, by 25, you should have already saved 1 time your gross income. And then for 55, if you want to retire, by 25, you should have already saved about 0.6 times your annual gross income. So what you do is say, okay, well, if I'm 25 years old, where's my nest egg? How does it relate to my income? And am I on track for some of these early retirement goals?
Well, we know this because, look, when we talk about 20-year-olds, 25-year-olds, we know, especially for like the 20-year-old, $1 invested at age 20 by the time you reach 65 is worth $88. Right. This is just turning that concept, just calculating it completely, very similar way, but it's putting numbers to the power of if you built a nest egg, what it could turn into by the time you reach the desired retirement age.